Rasta Santana. Happy birthday to you.
It's so early. You guys want to get some coffee or something?
Can I get a cup of coffee? Black? Can't you see we talking? White?
Even little kids in Mexico drink coffee.
Well, I'm not a little kid in Mexico, okay?
That is the best coffee I've ever tasted.
A damn fine cup of coffee.
You want a cup of coffee?
No coffee.
Coffee drinker, huh?
Maybe we could grab some coffee?
Coffee! Coffee!
God damn, Jimmy. That's some serious gourmet shit. Me and Vincent would have been satisfied with some freeze-dried Taster's Choice, right? And he springs this serious gourmet shit on us.
Good morning and welcome to Morning Coffee with Chris. My name is Christopher Moonlight, and as you can see, we are joined by John Das Wolfen, Joe's Atmosphere, and Martin. Good morning, gentlemen. How are we doing today?
Good morning, my friend.
Doing good.
I have a song to sing. It's Happy Birthday to You. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Martin. Happy birthday to you. Good job, guys.
Thanks, guy. Thanks, but
You're welcome.
it was too in tune. Yeah, what was that? It's supposed to be a chaos.
Chaos?
Cacophony. Yeah,
We're
that's
professional entertainers, sir. We don't do chaos.
Do we have a dogs and cats living together?
Mass hysteria.
well, I do.
Let's have it. Let's do it.
Oh. I think you woke up in a wrong situation because I have a dog and 6 cats. So
He was fired on his birthday. No.
Right?
All right. We'll move on.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Perfect timing. And welcome to our friends in the chat, Penny Deba Martin, Anima Confucia, Sean Estep, and Dragon Roos. Welcome, gentlemen and ladies, actually. And this is for you. Lifting it. I hurt my my right bicep lifting weights, so I'm only able to lift with my left at the moment. But we'll get back into it. The subject today is not tornadoes, but I realize they're out there, so please, everybody, be safe. And Real Wade Nation is also with us. Good morning. By the way, so yes, just watching you and Tornado Watch. So yes, be safe. I hate tornadoes. I hate when they're in my neighborhood, especially. But today's subject is Hollywood dead? Is creativity dead? And what happens next? What's the future? It's the new year. Happy New Year.
Short answer, yes. Long answer, yes.
Well, we're going to talk about why and what happens next. I have so much to say about this subject. And some of it does, of course, involve independent creators and what they're doing. And speaking of which, if we can share my screen, today's episode is sponsored by me and my projects. So, of course, if you have not seen The Quantum Terror yet, it is available to watch on Tubi, Filmzy, and Prime Video. So to rent or buy, but Tubi is probably, if you're broke like me and you don't want to spend money on a rental on Amazon Prime, Tubi's probably the best way to go. Or if you're international, if you're outside the United States, Filmzy is international. You can watch it there as well. And this is from my my Substack. Also, my Subscribe Star, where you get updates on Escape from Planet Omega 12, my second feature film, which is animated. And as a matter of fact, we're going to watch something that is an unlisted video. I have not released it as part of the announcement yet, but we're going to check out the new intro video. My name is Christopher, and I'm excited to announce the launch of my Hi. Okay. My name is Christopher, and I'm excited to announce the launch of my sci-fi animated feature film, Escape from Planet Omega 12. It's the story of Terra, the beautiful lone survivor of a doomed space mission, marooned on a hostile alien planet teeming with bizarre and dangerous life forms. Aided by her small robot assistant and a gelatinous entity that has absorbed the consciousness of her dead husband, she has to learn to survive in a world never meant for humanity and escape before she's found out by a secret enemy that sends robots and drones to hunt for her. As independent filmmakers in an unprecedented time, we have been offered the unique opportunity to wield great technological power and take creative risks. I believe it would be foolish to leave such an opportunity on the table. So I've decided that the time is now to create an animated movie in a style that no one has ever seen before by combining various open source 3D programs with AI-driven motion capture, hand-drawn cell animation, and practical effects such as tabletop miniatures and puppets. By using these different elements together, we're going to create a truly unique and innovative visual style for our movie that we can do on an indie film budget. We believe that bringing timeless traditional methods together with modern technology can add a sense of charm and character to our story that pushes beyond what big budget studio movies do. We believe by embracing our creativity and utilizing these tools, we can create an animated epic that stands out from the crowd and captures the attention of audiences around the world. The possibilities for creating something truly original are endless. If you want to join us on our journey, I put a link in the description as well as at the end of this video. Here is Escape from Planet Omega 12. Thank you. So that is here on Subscribestar, and I'll put a link in that. And that's all I wanted to share with you guys as, you know, the sponsor. Today's show, again, sponsored by me and my projects. And this kind of dips right into what we're talking about. Hollywood has suffered some catastrophic financial losses in the last year. And we don't need to share the screen anymore, Martin. Thanks. Or I can. There we go. Thank you. They have tanked their franchises. They are losing their stars or firing their stars. All sorts of crazy stuff is going on. And at the same time, technology, as I said in my video, is allowing independent creators to do things that they never could before and didn't have the budgets for. Not only that, the technology is advancing so fast, and I will get into this at a certain point. I do believe that you're going to see people making Avengers Endgame level stories in their own backyard. And before I go on anymore with that, we got a few more people in the chat. We've got Real Wade Nation. We've got Krampus Jeebus. Thank you. Come again. Keely Chow and Bill Barclay. Welcome, gentlemen and ladies, to the show. So, yeah, I mean, John, you said the short answer is yes, and the long answer is yes. I actually think that it could have been a little longer, but yeah. I mean, what to you guys? What have been the big tells? Because I think there have been some big tells, but I want to know what you guys think.
Number of remakes.
Yep.
It's like they can't come up with original stuff. No
Yeah,
doubt.
that's one thing. I think it's not just the remakes, but it's the same story is happening over and over again. It's like they are stuck on the well, I'll just say it, the woke formula. They just can't break away from it. I mean, if you were to hold a for the sake of not getting censored by YouTube, if you were to hold a pew pew to their head and tell them do something different, I don't think they'd be able to do it to save their lives. Is that there's only one thing they know how to do, and it is to take, if we're talking franchises, where it's take the male lead, put a insufferable woman that can do everything and knows everything next to him, have him be broken, have her lecture him and take over the story and do everything right. And we see different variations on that, but for the most part, it's just there. What would you call it? A self-insert character that is there to lecture everything that came before, the last generation, on why they're better at everything and they know better. That's always, what is this, Orwell saying something like that? Every generation, every next new generation believes themselves to know better than the last and also better than the one that's next. Welcome to the Crusader Lion, by the way. Yeah, I mean, it's just beyond parody at this point. You think, oh, they've got to catch on by now that we're on to them. And yet they keep doing it over and over again. Willow being the latest example, I think. Or is there another example that is even newer than that?
No, Willow's the newest. I mean, but they've got nobody to blame but themselves, Chris. I mean, look at the mandates they put out for the Academy Awards a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, they're handcuffing their own productions by you have to check boxes, and that's not how creativity works. When you're working on your movie, when I'm working on my comic book, we're not checking boxes. We're trying to tell a good story. That's all we're trying to do. And
well, was it that was it Baxtel test? How do you say that?
Bechtel test. That was
Bechtel.
supposed to be a joke. That started as a joke, and these guys, that just shows you the mentality of these people. They took it serious and ran with it.
Yeah, it's like these bingo cards that they hold people to. It's ridiculous. You can't. I mean, essentially, this is what a communist regime would do: is say you can only create if you adhere to these rules. If you are, if your story glorifies the party. And this is something very interesting. Oh, we got it. Cesar Romero, the Joker. Hi, superintending. AI will change completely the film industry. Scripts, music, sound effects. I believe it will make it more democratized and will push creativity much further. Did you show up to back me up 100%? Because I have a lot to say about that. We're going to get to that. We are going to talk about AI. I know it's becoming a very kind of a cliche with me that I'm an AI person, and I get a lot of flack for it. But I've been able to address that flack. So yeah, one of the things that was very interesting to me recently is James Cameron coming out and saying,
Hey, Tom.
Hey, welcome Midnight's Edge After Dark, one of my favorite channels. Gary's, it's his day off today. I get to fill in on Tuesdays, and I'm very grateful to Gary for that. But yes, I think I've said this before. I'm a big fan of Midnight's Edge. I listen to a lot of their stuff, even things that don't entirely interest me. But I did end up leaving a comment on the what was it, the Nintendo verse episode that you guys did not too long ago, which is part of your live stream. Because you guys talked about something that's very interesting to me, in the fact that Lucas watched Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers and couldn't get the rights to that. So he just went, F it, I'll make my own. And he created Star Wars. And that's where I think the next generation of creators is going to come from. And that's coming very soon. And I think AI is going to be a big part of it. Not 100% all of it, mind you, but I've been really researching what AI is going to be capable of. And it goes so far beyond what people are seeing right now with Midjourney or OpenAI chatbots and that sort of thing. But again, we're going to get into that. The reason I wanted to bring up James Cameron was he came out and said, he regrets fetishizing weapons, the pew-pews. And I found that very interesting because if you listen to his commentaries on his old films, he is very much pro weapons and not at all the woke mouthpiece that he's become. And one of the things that I know for a fact has been prevalent throughout Hollywood since the 1950s, maybe even earlier, are struggle sessions. I believe that because James Cameron knows where his bread is buttered, he is probably at the forefront of a struggle session that Midnight Session after. What did he say? Rub it in. What?
Rub it in that Gary missed him.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. There has been a lot of instances of Hollywood writers and producers accidentally stepping out of line with the communists in Hollywood. Razor Fist did a great video on it called Hollywood Was Always Red. There's actual footage of them being stood up, meetings called and them stood up in front of a group of people, just like they would do in communist China, and essentially being made to repent and taunted and harassed, and essentially put in their place. And I'm speculating here that James Cameron, again, because he has spent so much money on Avatar, and after surpassing $1 billion in revenue, I think it's at like 1.2 billion or something like that at this point, and still technically not being profitable, he has to really watch what he says and say the right things. I think there's a whole struggle session that we're not seeing that he's in front of. It could be that he's lost his mind. It certainly sometimes comes off that way, but we don't see all the things that are going around. So, that's like you said, Joe, struggle sessions in the toilet. They have hamstrung themselves to the nth degree.
Yeah.
Oh, Scribe Light, my neighbor on the moon. And also comes in on my channel, Christopher Moonlight Productions, to take part in my live streams. Good guy. Check out his channel as well. John, what you got?
By the end of 2022, Avatar made 1.4 billion.
But how many had it made domestically?
Oh, it only made 444 million.
Yeah, it made $1 billion outside the U.S. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
So this is one of the things this is a big problem that Hollywood is facing, because it didn't make that much money. It grossed that much money.
Oh, yeah.
We don't know if those numbers are inflated or not, but I mean, James Cameron, and again, we don't know if this is entirely true or if this is somewhat hyperbolic, but James Cameron came out very early and stated that just to break even, it would have to make $2 billion. Now, the numbers that it's done, whether they're inflated or not at the moment, are phenomenal. But the fact of the matter is that when you spend that much money, and Hollywood has just been throwing money, good money after bad, for ages, eventually it's going to collapse. And a lot of these executives and producers, what you don't hear about is they don't care because they get their money up front. But that can only happen for so long before the house of cards collapses. Yeah. And they, they're pulling out all the tricks. Let's look at Spider-Man No Way Home. It was a big hit. People are like, okay, Marvel is back. But it took two studios. It took Disney and Sony coming together, bringing back all of their Spider-Man stars and all of their, maybe not all, but almost all of their Spider-Man villains, all those nostalgic actors, and a major death just to get people curious enough to come to the theater for that. And I don't know if that's repeatable. So,
that's a one shot, no doubt about it, Chris. They shot their wad with that one. They can't do that again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And with Avatar,
who died in Spider-Man No Way Home?
Spoiler alert.
Not the uncle.
What's that?
Oh yeah, that one. Okay, yeah, I was thinking. Never mind. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that Aunt May really doesn't compute. It's more like best friend Aunt May or best friend May or something, right? I mean,
that's
doesn't even look like Aunt May.
that's Aunt Milf.
She was somebody for Robert Downey Jr. to hit on, right?
Yeah,
that was Aunt Milf, not Aunt May.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris.
Yes.
Please address this once and forever.
Yeah. Does Chris play vids when Backdoor is mentioned in the chat? I don't have access to playing vids. It's all Martin has full control over your vertical and horizontal phrasing.
I need your blessing to do that kind of things.
I there's only one thing that I truly love, and that's lifting for the ladies.
So no backdoor videos.
That's a Gary thing.
Yeah. I'll get, mine is the robots, John.
Yeah, that's his thing. The robots.
So, yeah, this is
Krampus, man. Too much.
Let's see. It's been at a slow pace. It took days after Christmas to make 1 billion, and the pace is going. And its pace is going. Yeah, and the pace it's going. I can't see it reaching 2 billion. Could be wrong, but it's the pace plus domestic versus international money is the story. Yeah, I mean, I think that eventually it will probably hit 2 billion. And some of the money spent on these movies are also going into the next one. I don't know how many sequels they're actually going to have. And a lot of the technological development that went into it, I mean, the effects, the rendering is outstanding. They didn't bring back Electric Company Spider-Man or Japanese Spider-Man. That's what Into the Spider-Verse Part 2 is going to do. They're going to, and again, like I said, they've already blown that wad, like Joe said. And in animated form, it's not going to be as special. But yeah, they're already bringing back all the... if you've seen the new Into the Spider-Verse trailer, there's literally a shot of Miles Morales standing in like a crowd of Spider-Man variants. So again, when you have that many, it just becomes a meme, not a reason to show up to the theater.
I would like to point out about the box office numbers that studios do not get all of that money that's listed when it says it grosses X amount. Mm-hmm. For international, it only gets about 35% of that. All the rest of that goes to international distributors and international, all that stuff. International, you got to pay the people and do all that stuff internationally. And then here domestically, they only get between 55 and 75% of the gross.
Yeah,
the rest of that go to the theaters.
And the theaters, they're selling their popcorn, and if you go to, I mean, I don't know what theaters are like all over, but the one we have here is called Evo, and they have theaters in half the building, and the other half of the building is a bar, pizzeria, bowling alley, and video game arcade.
That's the way you do it.
Yeah. So they're, the movies are what bring the people in, but I think there's taking my daughter to a birthday party there tomorrow, and they're not even going to go see a movie. They're just going to hang out at the bowling alley and run around and play video games. So it's very interesting. I just don't see Hollywood holding out for much longer in the capacity that it has. And I think that the result is going to be, at this point, especially, and we haven't even talked about streaming services yet, we're going to start seeing a lot more low budget content from Hollywood. I'm not just talking about the independents, which is going to be really interesting because the independents already have a little bit of an edge there. They know how to work on it within budgets.
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood, there are some people that do, but these big executives, they're always trying to figure out, like, okay, this movie budget, how do I work in not only my bonus, but my amenities that come with just being on a set? How do I work a vacation on a yacht with a bunch of drugs and hookers into the budget of this movie? It does happen. So yeah, we're probably going to see another resurgence of a lot more reality television. We're going to see cheap looking content like, I mean, the WB or the CW verse is dead as far as I can tell. So yeah, I'm going to see I think we're going to see a lot of floundering around. Disney's stock is down. The only thing I'm kind of worried about is I always love taking my kids to Disneyland, but I mean, that's been out of the question because it's gotten so expensive, and my revenue is dried up in this economy. So, that's not going to happen, but I wouldn't want to see Disneyland go away. I don't think it will. Somebody will buy it up. People are still speculating if Apple's going to buy up Disney.
Apple won't buy Disney. If Apple's going to buy anything, they're going to buy Pixar. I think they're going to buy Pixar from Disney, and that will give them cash in the meantime and prop them up, and they'll continue limping along a little further until they've finally got to either straighten up or start selling off some other proproperties.
Yeah. I mean, Pixar is pretty much worthless at this point, except for the past IPs like Toy Story.
Yeah.
As a production, as a production house at the moment, they're failing miserably. And that's because, again, this, you got these people that kind of came in through the back door, then pulled a bunch of Me Too stuff, ousted all the people that created Pixar and made it what it was, and inserted themselves in and thought, just based on the name, giving themselves the executive positions would be the same as being what the past people were, but it's not. It's the people that make the company. So again, I mean, there's a rumor that Warner Brothers is going to be selling off CNN because it's worthless.
They need the money.
Yeah. They can get a little bit of money for it, but it's just name brand recognition. But at this point, it's poison, just like Star Wars has become poison, which is amazing. I never thought that would happen. And Star Wars isn't even a movie franchise anymore. It's a bunch of ever increasingly cheaper TV shows. True, Dust Wolf, and I think if they buy Pixar, that signals Apple will buy Disney. In steps could come true. I do think that I think that Apple and Amazon are going to end up owning everything, pretty much.
Well, the reason why I think they're going to buy Pixar is because they want to, because it's Pixar is tied to Steve Jobs, and they want to make sure that Steve Jobs' memory stays intact. Yeah, and if they can do that, and they turn around and buy Skydance Media at the same time, they can bring it brings John Lasseter back, brings a lot of Pixar artists back. They put it all under the Pixar name. Suddenly, they've got Pixar back to where it was.
That would be bizarre. But yeah, I could see that. It's funny, as Steve Jobs could in the future, they could almost use him in the same way that Disney used Walt Disney. And that's another thing. It used to be that Walt Disney was at the forefront of everything. Even after he died, he was kind of like, I don't know, this is a bad comparison, but like the Colonel Sanders of Disney. And I actually think that was a good thing, though. I think it's a shame they seem to have kind of tried to jettison Walt Disney as an image in the last few years as well. Again, they want to bring themselves in. They want to make it all about them. And really, again, what Hollywood is suffering from is a combination of intense narcissism.
Yeah, run amok.
Yeah.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah.
By people who just don't understand what they're handling. And you know,
right. They're supposed, their brand is being the family label, and they've gone anti-family. If anybody has, it's Disney. It's ridiculous.
Well, again, it's this the Die Initiative, and the bean counters, which is weird because you'd think that the bean counters would at least have a little more control over that, seeing all the money that they're losing.
Right.
And ultimately, again, I just don't think. I think what's happened is the people who really understand how in this new era we're going to make money have distanced themselves. I think that they're kind of waiting behind the scenes for it all to completely collapse so that they can move in. And this is in the form of Apple and Amazon, but I think it's also in the form of more independently minded people like Lasseter. Pixar was a company built from the ground up, and we have Steve Jobs and actually George Lucas to thank for that. And Lucas was an innovator in terms of he was an independent film guy. He had some studio backing. He had the backing of some producers, but he pretty much built everything from the ground up. And even with the first Star Wars, he was inventing new technology or facilitating the invention of new technology to realize his vision. And that started with computerized motion control. And then went into the digital era with the prequels, the formation of Pixar. But it was a grassroots thing. And again, I've said this before, it's all of these grassroots franchises that are now the huge franchises. We've seen them go from grassroots to tentpole, and now they're diminishing returns. Terminator, Star Wars, Aliens, Indiana Jones. I'm missing a big one.
Marvel
came later, but same thing. Marvel was Marvel Studios, and it wasn't Sony, it was it Paramount that I forget who, but Marvel Studios was essentially some guys in an office and Robert Downey Jr. and Jon Favreau. And Robert Downey Jr. and Jon Favreau worked together tirelessly to bring Iron Man about. Nobody believed in it. So yeah, it is, in a way, it's grassroots. And it's a comic book character coming from it's not even a well-known comic book character coming from a company that had filed for bankruptcy.
Yeah, my brother and I were just laughing our asses off when we first saw the announcement that they were going to start with Iron Man. I was like, wow, you talk about almost a C-list character in Marvel. But they had to go that way because so many of their properties were owned by other studios.
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man was owned by Sony. X-Men was owned by Fox.
Fox had a bunch of them. They had the X-Men, Fantastic Four. They were just because of the bankruptcy thing you just mentioned, they were farming things out a little bit at a time to try and make money. And they had to they had to get all that stuff back, and they really didn't start getting all that stuff back until Disney bought them. So
yeah, and honestly, I think there's a lesson in that, just in the sense of Hollywood is built and always has been built on entrepreneurs and innovators, and that's even the early days of Hollywood. The early studio executives were constantly risking bankruptcy on projects, but often winning because they believed in the artists. They believe in the integrity of the process of creation. Now, again, it's just all people who think that they can buy other people's success and have someone else do all the work and just buy it. But as far as, with Marvel goes, I remember Dolph Lundgren's Punisher,
oh man,
which
was featuring Lou Gossett Jr.
God, what else? I mean, when Blade came out, again, that was Steve Norrington directing. Snipes, for years, was a comic book fan. He actually wanted to do the Black Panther, and I think that wasn't available. So he went with Blade, and he worked with Steve Norrington and made an amazing movie. And that was kind of, again, one of the first things that kind of caught fire in terms of Marvel properties. We had before that The Crow, which was an independent comic book, and turned out to be a great movie. God, that Alex, I forget how you say his last name, the director. I think it's Proye or something like that. I'm saying that, I'm butchering his last name, but directed The Crow, directed I, Robot, directed Gods of Egypt, and one of my favorite weird movies, Dark City. He's doing independent stuff in Australia now, and he's someone I would love to interview, because he's doing great stuff with new technology. He's using green screens and virtual sets. He's using volumes. I think that's where it's going to be at, or these, and I think it's going to be a lot of people in Hollywood. I mean, I'm friends with Neville Page, who's a designer. He's designed for all the big names, James Cameron, Proyas. Thank you. I probably still said it wrong. James Cameron, Ridley Scott, George Lucas. Hey, Zax. And he's very wisely experimenting with this new technology. He's working with the volume. I can't talk about what he's shown me. It's all it was shown in confidence, but he's doing amazing stuff. And I think it's people like him who are going to thrive in the next 10 years. And I do hope, myself included, that independent creators are able to kind of, I hate using this term because it sounds like I'm being some sort of revolutionary or something. I'm not, but rise up and take their spot, just like people like Lucas and Spielberg and Francis Ford Coppola and Martin Scorsese did way back in the 70s. I think that's going to happen again.
I think that might be a bit optimistic. The show last night that we did on Canon Films reminded me that the Hollywood major studios are going to be a big monolithic block you have to get through. And I don't think you're going to be able to get through it because they're going to close ranks. And they'll take the best of the independents and let them in, but they'll make them part of the Hollywood system. And, it's not, I mean, you're not going to be able to have independents that come out of nowhere and make stuff like, a movie and then get it out there because the studios won't let you release it. You'll be out there maybe on YouTube or like you've done. See, they'll stand in your way if you get too big, and that's the way that they operate.
Yes,
because that's what they did to Canon. They got in Canon's way.
Well, and first of all, I want to say hi to Brandon, the anime guy. Thank you for being here. Canon made some mistakes of their own.
Well, yeah, they made mistakes, but
one of the things what they did was the brothers, they wanted to be big Hollywood producers, and they made the same misstep that Hollywood is making right now, which is they started funding films for more money than they could get a return on. Their formula was a winning formula for years because ultimately they wouldn't spend money unless they knew they already had a distributor. And they would go to financiers and say, we've got a distributor, and they do it all based on a poster. The movie hadn't been made yet. And if the distributors and the investors like the poster and they give them the green light, then they go and write and make the movie. It's when they started going from, making names like, or using names like Charles Bronson, or getting Jean-Claude Van Damme in front of people, and some other stars who aren't quite as notable today, but they went from that to suddenly giving, I think, Sylvester Stallone his biggest payday as a movie star ever, which I think was for Over the Top, an arm wrestling movie that he wanted. I think he wanted that to be his way into being more family friendly. But if you watch, and we had our guest, was it Robin Block, who is doing the Aliens Expanded documentary. He also did In Search of Tomorrow, which he gave us a link to. I'm in the middle of watching. It's a 5-hour documentary, but it's very interesting. But they also did another one that's available on Tubi right now called In Search of the Last Action Hero. And they talk about things that I think people forget, like the fact that Stallone went from being a major star to, for a while, being box office poison. And then he had to make a comeback, but he had some really, a string of flops, real stinkers. Hello to War Monkey. Thank you for joining us. So, I do agree with you that Hollywood, they do have a habit of closing ranks. But now with the internet, I'm not saying that a lot of independent filmmakers are going to become so competitive with Hollywood that Hollywood's going to have to take note. But they will, again, be able to create their own studios that will be profitable and cater to niche audiences, which I think is going to be a lot more what we're going to see and Hollywood for a while is going to have to compete in that market because they're just not going to have as much money to create these huge tentpoles. I mean, I just don't see another Avengers Endgame happening soon.
Something else you've got to look at is also look at the money behind. I'm not talking about the money they make on studios. I'm talking about the investors. You've got the activist investors. You've got like BlackRock. You've got that guy at Disney that's a big activist investor. You've got all these, and the whole strict adherence to the ESG, that environmental, social, and governance stuff that companies push. You've got to take that into account too. Unless you're on message with them, they're not going to let you play in their fields. They're not going to let you. They're going to do everything they can to crush you.
That's I think if you get too big, yes, you will become more of a target. I think that's only going to last so long, though, because there are a lot of companies that are starting to lose money on ESG. It's just, and you
I've
only
noticed that too. That ESG is not going to last.
Yeah, as long as they were making money, it was fine. But if you keep adhering to ESG and company after company keeps losing money from that, BlackRock is going to have to shift their own message, or they're going to start to lose power as well. Now, I'm not saying that there won't always be ultra powerful entities. That's absolutely true. But let's look at a little bit at, some of the things that have changed that dynamic. And that dynamic is changing.
I'm a bit black-pilled on it. I don't think. I mean, we'll get some wins, but I don't think that it's not going to change without it all burning down.
Well, I don't entirely agree, and I like Razor Fist's comment on the black pill. He says the black pill is a suppository. It's first of all, I think if you take the black pill, then you've already lost.
Got to
And
stay glass half full. That's the way I am.
yeah, and if there wasn't hope for changing the dynamic, then we wouldn't get all the propaganda trying to push us away from it. So but again, let's see. I mean, there's a lot of things that have changed. One of the things that's changed is simply video on demand. Now, video on demand isn't as powerful as they thought it was going to be because at first it was just Netflix, and then it was Amazon, and now we've got streaming services left and right. I mean, we just cut the cord on cable, and I got, what was it? I forget what it is now, but it's got all the shows that my wife likes to watch, and it's got WWE and
Dude,
Paramount. No.
right before I got rid of DirecTV, it was costing us $185 a month to watch The Walking Dead on AMC.
Yeah.
And we went to Sling and dropped $130 off our bill.
Sling, that's the one I went with. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because you can custom it any way you want. You don't have to get all the channels they're offering. You make the package the way you want it. There's so many. Why people are still using satellite and cable is beyond me. I don't understand it.
Yeah, I mean it's with Tubi again, one of my favorites, and the Quantum Terror is on Tubi.
Tubi's a good one. Pluto TV. There's a lot of free streaming ones too.
Yeah, they're still getting the ad revenue, and it's not as profitable as they thought it was going to be. It's essentially just the new cable, except now you can watch what you want whenever you want, as opposed to having to DVR it or VHS it, or going back in time, check the TV guide, that sort of thing. And it's changed the dynamic. And again, you're not going to have as big a profits, so the shows aren't going to be as lavish as, say, I think the Walking Dead was actually pretty brilliant in how it did things on a budget. I mean, zombies are cheap.
Yes.
And so are rundown looking locations. I mean, a lot of times they're shooting in the woods or in a field.
Look, you would be surprised how much of Hollywood has moved to Atlanta.
No, not at all.
My daughter just moved there because she was working in Tulsa. She was working for a security company, and she's been trying to break into the movie business for a long time. She's a creative like me, and that's her passion is movies. And
rundown areas are easy to find.
She worked on the I'd have to look it up, Chris, but she worked on Apple Movie Studios' first production, which is a Scorsese flick, the one he's making with DiCaprio and De Niro. And she called me one day freaking out because she met John Lithgow and was, loved how nice a guy he was. She said, he's huge. I said, oh yeah, darling, that's a big guy, It's a period piece that actually takes place in the Tulsa area. It had something to do with an Indian genocide that happened around the turn of the century, something like that. It's a true story, apparently. Yeah. And it's a passion project for Scorsese. It's in post-production now. But she made a bunch of contacts, and everybody she worked with on that movie set is in Atlanta working.
Yeah.
So there's not all productions going on in Hollywood anymore. It's all over the place. I mean, if you know the movie Olympus Has Fallen, the one that started Gerard Butler's little franchise he has there, the Fallen franchise, right? I passed the set for the White House every day on my way to work. It was right here in Shreveport because in Bossier, they built it out in front of this arena we have over here right on the riverfront. And it was because of Katrina. A lot of the movie production from New Orleans moved up to the Shreveport area after Katrina happened. So
yeah. And hello to Lindsay, the cynical geek, which I first read Lindsay, the cylindrical geek, which I also like. But
I say all that to make this point, and it's to John's black pill thing earlier about, look, money talks, okay? And they're not going to stick with ESG if they're not going to make money, okay? The reason why they're not filming in Hollywood on studio sets and stuff now is because they're finding cheaper venues to make the films. The reason why there's so much going on in Atlanta is because they're getting friggin' tax breaks and incentives to film there. So, I mean, and that's the same reason why we got a lot of productions here. Now, Louisiana has since cut that back and they're not filming here anymore, which is stupid, but you know, hey.
Yeah,
But-
Missouri got rid of its film
I
subsidies.
say all that to make the point that they are going to do what's good for their dollars. Okay. And if it means breaking from ESG and going back to making, like we talked about on my final stream of the year, you know, is the alpha male making a comeback? Well, according to box office receipts and streaming numbers, yeah, they are, you know, so.
Well, the thing is, though, I mean, yeah, I understand that they're not making money, but the problem is they're being fortified by these companies like BlackRock, like these investors and stuff. And that's until they run out of money, that's not going to change.
There's so many ways, though, to, you know, so much is decentralizing now because of technology. And it's kind of like, it makes me think of that scene at the end of Wednesday where she gets attacked by the swarm of bees and she starts shooting at them. You know, it's not going to happen all at once, but it is happening. And again, video on demand, like I said, the Quantum Terror has been picked up by 12 different video on demand platforms. So far, it's only gone live on 4 of them. So I'm still waiting for 8 more video on demand platforms in 2023 to show my movie. And if any of the, you know, with that many, if some of them take it down, it's still up on others. There's always a way for me to get my movie to people. And, you know, with today's technology, and the technology is advancing at lightning speed. We've never seen such huge leaps in technological advances in the last decade in any other time in history, unless that, what's that ancient apocalypse guy has some information that we don't. But in terms of the changing landscape as well, one of the things that I noticed before we go on to in the second hour, I am going to talk about the advances in technology, including AI, that will help filmmakers. But I've mentioned before that the movie star is no more. And
it's on its last legs.
Yeah, there are still a few, but let's look at what movie stars used to be. Movie stars, and I actually wrote this down so I wouldn't forget it. So, you know, I was listening to, I forget the name of the actor, but he played the Punisher, and he was also on The Walking Dead.
Bernthal, John Bernthal.
He was on Joe Rogan recently.
Saw that. Yep.
And he was talking about how he went to the Russian school for theater and how hardcore it was, how you learned dancing and acrobatics and emoting and all this stuff. And it was like 200 people would get in and 10 people would graduate. They just keep cutting people. It used to be that a movie star was someone who was actually talented, and not just talented at like one thing that they do a little bit well and had one hit movie or song or whatever it is, but they could sing, they could dance, they were, you know, they had an image, and the word fan comes from fanatic. People would obsess over them. Thank you. You know, by the way, so we have a New Year's Eve tradition in my house. Now that my girls are older, you know, they would ask about different horror movies that they would want to see, but we wouldn't let them because they were little. But now that they're older, we would do, okay, this New Year's, we're going to watch this. Last year, it was Alien and Aliens. This year, my wife picked the movie, and it was Stephen King's Misery, starring Kathy Bates and James Caan. Now, I'm sure you're all familiar with the plot of Misery. You've seen Misery.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
You know, but one of the things that really struck me was it's based on a fan, a fanatic, a crazy person.
Yeah, a stalker that Stephen King had.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it's, you know, all the things about her are really rooted in her preconceived notions of who this author was.
Right.
Not a human being, but a celebrity. And, when confronted by his human aspects, that was what would most enrage her, was that he wasn't this perfect thing that, she could project her ideas onto and control. The idea was that she had power over him. She controlled this, what she viewed as a perfect being. And it was a very chilling, entertaining movie. Again, on a very low budget. I mean, it's just two people in a house for the most part. And they have a few things, they got a guy in a helicopter looking, through the snow and a car wreck and that sort of thing. But it's obviously, all the money went into paying the actors and the director. I think, was it Ron Howard or Rob Reiner? I always get those two mixed up. Anyway, every once in a while, someone will get a stalker, I'm sure, internet celebrities and that sort of thing. But for the most part, again, that's become kind of granular. You have more niche names. So, you may know who Logan Paul is or PewDiePie, but there's only a certain amount of people that actually spend time thinking about them.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the biggest ones. So, but a celebrity used to be someone who was the draw to the movie. And now, for the most part, the draw is the franchise name. Or at least that's how Hollywood treats it. So, again,
unless your name's Tom Cruise.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Tom Cruise, again, he's his own brand because his thing is like, I'm going to make, he addresses the audience. He goes and sits at the top of some insanely high building that he just climbed and then does a bit where he says, hey, come see my next movie. And then he, base jumps off of it or some crazy thing. Yep. Where, he's sitting on the top of a biplane going, come see the new Mission Impossible. He knows how to do it. Let's see. What do you guys have these names that are so hard to pronounce? Snortapoopas Cuber. You did that on purpose. Welcome to the show.
That's the polar bear of the internet, Snortapoopas Cuber.
Sorry. I love it. Yeah, but it used to be a celebrity was this charming, beautiful person that you were fascinated with. They would talk, people used to actually care what they were wearing on the red carpet to the Oscars. They'd care what they said at the Oscars. They cared about the Oscars. Now we kind of despise celebrities. Celebrities have become, if anything, the pariahs of Hollywood, the people that we love to hate. We might start to love them and then suddenly they're singing Imagine, during lockdown from their comfy home. That wasn't hate, Zach. That was love. That was absolute love. I was very entertained by that. So, it's we don't want to hear from them anymore. We kind of just, we cheer when Ricky Gervais gives them hell about something. And it's become that it's become kind of a market where if somebody turns out to be nice, say Henry Cavill, we're kind of gravitating towards them because Cavill is, made it known that he's a fan of the stuff that we're a fan of. Or, God, Jeremy Renner he gets run over by his snowcat. We actually feel concerned because it's like, hey, he seems like one of the good guys. The celebrity was created by Edward Bernays to sell crap. I'm trying not to cuss because of YouTube's new regulations, which I'm not 100% sure of, but I've been hearing about them, so I'm going to try and be good. Yeah, I mean, the celebrity was the product, and they were groomed. I know that's a term that's kind of thought of differently now, but they were groomed to be singers, dancers, beautiful, charming. If they were a nightmare on set, you didn't hear about it. And there's that great scene in Hail Caesar where was it Josh Brolin, was it, that played the
He was
exec?
the detective, I think.
No, he's a studio exec.
That's right. Okay.
He grabs what is it? George Clooney's character is kind of just like being very blasé about like, hey, there's guys at the studios handing out lollipops. I know the score. And Josh Brolin picks him up and starts smacking him back and forth and tells him, like, you're going to go out there and you're going to be a star. And you're going to, you're going to do the role and you're going to show up and you're going to do the best job you can. And then he sends him out the door. And just before he leaves, he points at him and goes, go be a star. And it was kind of funny because that he wasn't being confidence affirming. He was being like, we're paying you to be a star.
Yeah.
We invested in you to be a star. You go be a star or there's going to be trouble.
Or else.
So now that's not as important to the studios anymore. It doesn't matter who's playing The Witcher to them. They're like, oh, Henry Cavill's out. We'll just get a Hemsworth. Which one? I don't know.
The lesser one.
A lesser Hemsworth, But even Chris Hemsworth, I think it was Quentin Tarantino, pointed out Chris Hemsworth isn't really the celebrity. Thor is. He embodies Thor. He's the best Thor you could probably get. Give him that. But how many Chris Hemsworth movies are there outside of Thor that people are just, crazy about? I can't think of any. I think of wasn't he's Kirk's dad, right? In Star Trek.
Right.
The biggest celebrity today is Jennifer Lawrence. Absolutely.
Yeah. She invented the celebrity.
Yeah. She was the first everything.
Yes.
And that's the other thing too. Celebrities today are just, again, because of the internet and because they're managing themselves, you learn really quick what they're about. If they're dumb or if they're self-absorbed or if they're nice. What was it? Keith sent me the other day some footage of Henry Cavill coming out of the airport, and there was somebody asking him all these kind of geek questions, and Cavill was just very readily and happily answering them, which really, I think, endeared himself to a lot of fans because there was no pretense and it wasn't one of those things where he was, like some celebrities are pretending to be fans. We need more people in movies to break legs. Yes, there's a theater pun in that, isn't there? So
that's why that's why Cavell's king of the geeks.
Yeah, at the moment, which is, it's just fine with me. He just seems like a real likable guy, and he seems to have, dated. I don't know who he's with right now, but he dated Gina Carano, who also seems like a cool chick. And, so even the company that they keep. But yeah, so I think, again, we're going to see it atomize more. And we're going to, the fact that people like Cavill, who in the past would have been, the biggest celebrity out there in old Hollywood, he's doing TV. The Witcher is TV. He's doing, what is it? Alana Holmes with Mila Bobby Brown, which I don't think anybody's into. I guess it's got a few fans. I suggested it to my girls because they're Stranger Things fans. They didn't care. And that's the other thing. It's really hard to make things catch on in this environment for everyone. It doesn't seem like the money that they throw at it makes a difference. You either have something good or you don't. You've got Stranger Things, and you've got Wednesday on Netflix. On Amazon, you've got what's big on Amazon? Reacher, Jack Reacher,
Terminal List, Reacher. Actually, I think Amazon's putting out the best stuff. Other than the show that shall not be named on Pop Culture Minefield. They're doing some really good stuff. I think my wife is in the middle of watching something called His Dark Materials, I think, on HBO.
Yeah.
That seems to be, it looks like the Golden Compass and
that's what it is.
Stuff slammed together.
It is the Golden Compass.
That's
the Golden Compass.
Like.
That's the name of the books it's from.
Okay.
That's the book series it's from.
I'm not
it ends.
aware.
This was the last season for it. So
yeah. But
it seems to me that Hollywood, though, they're trying to now look at what the independent productions have been doing and find their own version of that. I'm not saying emulate it. I do actually hope that Hollywood hires some independent creators, because there are a lot of good ones out there that could do exactly what it is that they know they need to do. The
You
problem
make
is
something that makes money, that they'll contact you, man, one way or another. Look, I've got to go. Speaking of Foxy, she just ducked her head in here, and I've got to work today. I just wanted to duck my head in for a little while today while I was working and say hi to you, and you guys be good.
No,
Chris, don't wear them out too much with the AI stuff. I know you're a big fan of that stuff, but don't wear them out too bad.
I've been, well, I'm going to talk about that, and I'll try and be very even-handed about it, because it is going to be a huge factor. But Joe,
I know Martin will keep you in line on it. All right. Well, listen, you guys be good, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Take
Happy
care.
New Year.
Same
Happy
to you
New
guys.
Year.
Bye.
Bye. So, yeah, I mean,
We missed our halfway point. So
we're way past our halfway point. Yeah.
yeah.
Decepticons Cave of Toys, welcome. So I would like to see the independent creators picked up. They not only know how to make good stuff, but they know how to do it on a budget, which Hollywood, they need to bring in some people that they can learn that from. My one thing that concerns me, though, welcome back, Penny, and War Monkey. I think I said hi to War Monkey before, but just in case. They don't treat these independent creators very well. Now, Marvel tried this, but they brought in some independent creators that were kind of from the woke sphere. What was it? What was it? Not the Inhumans, the Immortals, the Eternals. That's how much how memorable that was. They brought in an indie creator for that, but that was the wrong way to go about it. They brought in an indie creator who doesn't do anything like that. So what's she going to do? I mean, she's going to do what she knows, which is totally inappropriate for Marvel. The other thing, though, is, it's like, I think, again, it was Robin Block who came in last stream talking about the director of the Thing prequel, who said, leave that up a second, I'll read that in a moment, who said that the director of the Thing prequel was so mistreated and so steamrolled by the studio that he never directed another movie again. And was Steve Norrington that did Blade and League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, same thing. So the Weeb Pillar, is Hollywood yet dead? Yes. As for creativity, it's time for a new generation to arise without the middleman. Indies are the future. So yeah, let's talk about that. Good segue. If I didn't think that there was a future in indie filmmaking, I wouldn't be attempting to do it. Now, my aspirations are not that of becoming a major filmmaking celebrity, rich and famous, all that stuff. Rich would be nice. A well-funded independent studio is the goal, though. And as I stated before in my video that I showed at the beginning of the show for Escape from Planet Omega 12, there's so much technology available. There's so much that we can use right now. And the rate at which it's advancing is so extraordinary. With AI, you'll own Hollywood. I don't want to own Hollywood. Yeah, I said to something, pardon the phrase, but I said to somebody the other day, thinking that you can, like the fans can take over Hollywood and fix it and make it better, is like thinking you can cure someone for AIDS by having unprotected sex with them. It's not going to go the way you want. It's better to form something of your own, and the technology is going to allow us to do that. Again, technology like Film Hub, the film sales platform that you can upload your film to and put on the market for different video on demand platforms. You're not going to get in theaters, and you may not get like a day and date release like a big film would, but your film will be out there. There are tons of independent PR firms that do good work that you can pay very little money to monthly. I'm talking, you can have a budget of a couple of $1,000s for PR and get the word out about your movie. You can buy ads on social media, that sort of thing. And as far as the technology goes, we have 4K cameras that are consumer ready. We have audio equipment that is, 32, 36-bit audio, which is amazing. And here we go. We have AI, artificial intelligence driven everything. Now, one of the things that I want to kind of dispel early on, and I've talked about this before.
So we have what again?
What are you talking about?
The goddamn robots, John!
We do. We have AI, artificial intelligence, and we do have to be careful how we use it in different walks of life. I have been playing around with AI chat. Matter of fact, the first draft of the voiceover for the video that I showed at the beginning of the show was written by AI. I severely edited it, but what it did do was it gave me a basic structure. I gave it instructions to give me a monologue that I could recite in under 2 minutes, and the points that I wanted it to hit, and it blocked them out for me. It wasn't exactly what I needed, but I went in and I rewrote it myself and made it my own. But it was a great tool for me. Otherwise, I would have spent half the day writing that. So it was a great tool of expedience. So expedience is something that a lot of independent filmmakers don't have. That's why they take so long to make their films. The Quantum Terror took me 6 years to make because of different hangups that I had because of my budget and the technology that was available to me. All of that is gone now. If I have bad audio, like I had with the Quantum Terror, there are actually AI-driven audio recovery tools that can pinpoint why the audio is bad, what I was trying to get, and give it to me. The quality is so good that I actually have to scale it back a little bit because it sounds like ADR rather than on-location audio. It's that good. And even then, in the future, you'll probably be able to say, hey, this sounds like ADR. Give me something that sounds like it's outdoors, and it'll do it. As far as, but again, everyone's looking at, Chat GPT is what I used. Everybody is looking at, Midjourney and Stable Diffusion, and they're just seeing AI as AI art generated by prompts. Which, yes, that's one thing that it does. But AI is going to be doing pretty much everything at some point. Now, there are some dangers to that, and I'm definitely going to be covering them on my own YouTube channel, which is Christopher Moonlight Productions. And I'm going to be, in the new year, interviewing different AI users to see how they're using it. Whether they're artists or writers or attorneys, everyone's using it to automate some part of the process. Here's my prediction for AI in terms of filmmaking. At some point, somebody is going to get some cosplay costumes of the Avengers. They're going to have someone dressed up as Thor and someone dressed up as Iron Man. And the suits are going to be pretty rudimentary, fabric, kind of cheap. They'll have someone dressed as Thanos, and they're going to act out their own Marvel movie in the backyard. They're going to shoot it in the backyard. No green screens, no volume, no effects team. Maybe they'll shoot it on their phone. They're going to shoot it, and then they're going to put it into AI, and they're going to say, make this look like Avengers Endgame. And the AI is going to take all of that, and it's going to relight it, and it's going to use lenses to the person's specifications, and it's going to fill in all the backgrounds according to the special specifications. And all from your home, the AI is going to generate something as good as Avengers Endgame, and everyone's going to look like the real characters. That's going to happen. It might not be an Avengers movie. It might be something else, or it might be that they use AI to generate their own original characters and do it like that. But eventually we're going to see that. We're going to see people taking old movies that they shot on a budget, same thing, and they're going to, relight this for me. I want to see this lens. I want this character to, have bigger muscles, whatever it is. I'm not now. The reverse of that is going to be, people are going to get sick of seeing AI generated movies, and they're going to want something real. So I don't think AI is going to take over everything, but the tools are going to be there that you can do whatever you want, and the budget isn't going to matter anymore. I think, again, I was just going to say the reaction to that is, you will get more Tom Cruise. You'll get more people who are, their gimmick is going to be, hey, are you tired of being oversaturated with AI movies, just like we're oversaturated with CGI movies? We've got something real. Same with artwork. Hey, are you tired of AI generated images? I've actually got paint on a canvas here for you. So the value of that is going to actually go up. I don't think it's going to be all. Somebody said it's, I'm talking like the Borg saying resistance is futile. Well, I'm not saying resistance is futile because I'm, part of a collectivist hive mind that wants to force it on you. I just see that it's happening. And you're either going to take a, also Rococo. I think you mean Rococo. I think was that on that last comment. Rococo motion capture. I am using it for Escape from Planet Omega 12. So that's another thing. Motion capture is AI driven. So you can act out what you want your character to do in front of a camera, and then you can import that tracking data onto a 3D model that you created in, say, Blender or, another. Blender is the one I use because it's open source. And that character will act out the motion. I actually have a video of that as well. I'm not ready to show that yet because it's early days. The power to create whatever you want, anybody creating whatever they want, is right around the corner. I had to come back home to get my SS card.
Phrasing.
Yeah. So
Hitler Youth meeting there, Krampus.
I'm hoping he means Social Security. Those.
Yeah.
As far as yes, Rococo is the motion capture. There's another one called Plask AI, which I'm trying with, but I think Rococo is the more powerful of the two. Rococo is motion capture, AI-driven motion capture, although they also do support facial capture, and you can get GPS driven motion capture suits that get you more accurate movement. But the technology is getting such that you're just not going to need motion capture suits much longer. You already don't. But, this is some of the people who are using AI. It's been very interesting communicating with them over messages. Some of them are people who are severely handicapped and were not ever able to have the opportunity to create in this way. And now they can. I talked to somebody who is a Black person who said, I am creating sci-fi images that I can put Black people into, where before, when I shopped around my ideas, nobody wanted to do it. They weren't interested. And now they feel like they're represented. They were able to represent themselves rather than wait for somebody to give them something that they feel is for them. So a lot of people are finding it tremendously empowering. I think I'll start next week so I can hang out with Mexican Iron Man. We all want to hang out with Mexican Iron Man. Let's see. So, it's going to empower people to do a lot of things. Now, that doesn't mean that it doesn't have its limits. One of the limits essentially being is I think we're always going to be able to recognize when something is AI. It'll always have a certain feel to it, no matter how good it gets. And it's just human nature to crave different things, which I think is good. Again, there are some disadvantages to AI. One of the things that, without really mentioning what it is, because I don't want to get into the ramifications of it, but there are certain things that open chat will refuse to write for you based on the ideology of the people who are running it. So if you use AI, you're also always going to be limited to what the person creating it is willing to let you do. So there will always be those parameters. Some of it is open source, though. Stable Diffusion is open source, so you can actually download it to your computer. I looked into it. It's a complicated process, but you can start training Stable Diffusion to create images based on what you choose to give it alone. So I think the most exciting example of that for me is I have years of artwork that I've created that I can train Stable Diffusion to work in my style. So I can still have an individual fingerprint using AI, or I can draw something, and I'm not the best artist in the world, but I can draw a picture of what I want and, upload it to Stable Diffusion and say, can you, make this anatomically better? Or can you give me different versions of this? I was watching a guy who's an author, and he was having trouble getting book covers that he wanted because he couldn't afford the artists that were the upper echelon artists, but the artists that he could afford were always giving him poor, cheap versions of what he wanted. He started feeding them into Stable Diffusion and generating better versions of it, and then he would Photoshop pieces of it together. But I mean, there's going to be weird stuff happening with AI. That it's a game changer in terms of how it's going to affect our economy. And I'm not just talking the arts, but customer service, the medical field, diagnosis. There'll always need to be a human element in there, and which I think is, again, it's important. The people who are going to use AI to create art and make the best images are going to be the artists. Because if you don't know how to recognize what makes a good piece of art, AI will only take it so far. You need to be able to guide it to, and I know this by trying out Midjourney, you need to be able to guide it again and again until it gets you closer and closer to the result you want. Weird stuff's going to happen, though. One of the things about the open chat people that kind of is disturbing to me is that they're so confident this is going to change our economy that they're trying to research what to do about it in terms of universal basic income. I am not a fan of the idea of universal basic income at all. It's economically disastrous. It's been proven so again and again. So the idea that because they're using this as a way to kind of force that, going like, well, it's going to take over all the jobs. There's not going to be anything for anyone to do. So everyone's going to need a universal basic income. No, there's always going to be jobs for people. It's going to change the landscape of what those jobs are and what the economy is. It'll be very bizarre. And between the fact that we are getting AI that is so good at imitating people, and we're heading into iRobot territory, by the way. We are going to see robots walking around. They're going to be able to walk and talk and communicate with us. In a few years' time, our GPS, instead of saying, turn at this street, you're just going to be able to have a conversation with it. Hey, should I turn here? And it's going to go, yeah, you can turn there, or you can turn up ahead. You can say to it like, hey, sometimes GPS waits to the last minute to tell you to turn. You can say, hey, is my turn coming up? Or give me, like a minute heads up, or that sort of thing. And it's going to talk back to you like a person. Your car is, all our cars are going to be like Kit. We're going to be talking to our cars. I joked with my daughter one day. We were leaving the supermarket, and I forgot where I parked. And I jokingly started calling out to my car, and she laughed. And I said, one day it's going to answer back. When you're an adult, that's what cars will do. You'll yell, where are you, car? And it'll say, I'm over here, stupid. So,
and that's when I set my car on fire.
Yeah. Well, you again, you can train your car to have a personality. I think one of the most accurate things, or one of the most interesting things about the Mandalorian, was how the Ugnaught retrained the what's the 11G unit? Is that what, I forget? Can't remember what these robots are called. But
IG-11.
What?
IG-11.
IG-11. So when the Mandalorian shot IG-11 and the Ugnaught fixed it, he didn't just yes, no dummy, the next right. I think that'll be a very entertaining. There is a SAS plugin for Alexa, so you can get sassed by Alexa if you want. But yeah, the idea that instead of just plugging in some programming and setting it running, that he had to train it. Machine training. He had to train it how to handle, pour drinks and handle pottery and not drop bales of hay on animals and all this different stuff. I thought that was actually very astute writing. And I imagine that the person who wrote that episode, I don't know if it was Jon Favreau or someone else, has obviously been looking into how machine learning works. You can't just program it. You have to train it, because we're just not capable of coding at that level. Speaking of which, AI can now code. So you don't even have to do that. You can just tell AI what you want it to code for. Now, I don't know anything about coding, so if I asked it to code something for me and it did it wrong, I wouldn't know. So we're always going to need coders. I just want my car to auto park and come and get me when I'm done. Yeah, that's happening too. Maybe the days of drunk driving are almost over. I like Her, the film. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Just mild spoiler for Her. I don't imagine a chat bot getting together with a bunch of other chat bots and deciding that it's time to go, and they're going to leave humanity and go off somewhere else.
It wasn't a chat bot. It was a full-fledged intelligence.
Yeah. I know we've covered this subject before, and I don't want to really kind of go over it again. I just don't see in our lifetime artificial intelligence becoming self-aware. Again, it's a very complex algebra. It's very convincing, but you're still not talking to anybody. If you're talking to a chatbot, you're still just by yourself. Imagine if your car talked like Sam Jackson and swore every other word at you. Yeah, there'll be people that do that. You're going to have all sorts of options. Your car is going to sound like whoever you want. Your Alexa is going to sound like whoever you want. And the illusion that you have some form of relationship, whether it just be like a friendship, or some people will use it to fulfill, a romantic space that needs filling. God, I couldn't figure out any way to say that didn't sound wrong. But and this is going to be one of the pitfalls. I think, Martin, one of the points that I think, you made is that some people are going to become overly reliant on it. We're already,
not some people, everybody.
Yeah. Well, we're already over reliant on the amenities that technology has given us. I mean, you could say that about electricity. You could say that about our cars. You could say that about our
electricity doesn't tell you how to live your life.
Well, but when it goes out, you notice the difference in your life. And was it last year? Yeah, it was last year. We had what we called the snowpocalypse here in Texas. We were not prepared for snow. We're not experienced with it. Our houses are not built for it. Our houses are actually built to ventilate heat out, because Texas is a hot place. So as soon as it snowed and the power went out, our homes started losing heat at an exponential rate. So I definitely noticed the difference. But again, I do think that the human spirit, will rise, and, we still, we have cars, but we still get people who run. We still get people who lift weights to keep themselves strong and watch their diet. Ultimately, these are all here to help us out, but they can be misused, and they can make some people lazy. Other people will, find new challenges within them. But again, I think that as far as Hollywood goes, it's going to level the playing field in ways that no one anticipated. And I think that's generally the reaction to all of this, is that it's such an amazing game changer that if you have lived your entire life thinking of things like that as pure science fiction, it's a little jarring, especially if it's going to knock you off your spot in terms of the hierarchy, for Hollywood. Yeah. And I think, John, you're absolutely right. Hollywood's not going to take this lying down. They're going to go to Congress. They're going to ask for legislation. AMC $5 Tuesday. Should I see Whitney Houston or Babylon, y'all? Both of those sound not appealing to me at all. Babylon's big flop. I don't know if you like Whitney Houston, just go for the Whitney Houston one. I think that at least you're going to get some music, but you're probably going to get a sad story. Dragon Ruse says, when my electric goes out, my day gets a lot better. I just can't live without hot water. Yeah, I'm a big hot water fan as well. Again, we think in terms of our daily lives, how technology impacts it. But at the same time, imagine a world, again, where somebody who is, say, a quadriplegic, who would never have had the opportunity to write their story and create a movie, or maybe doesn't have people around them that can attend to their needs, suddenly finds themselves with the technology to get out what's in their head into the world and show it to people through distribution of some form, and have a chance at getting a response. Or again, I'm looking forward to the iRobot future. Imagine if every elderly person in their home had a robot that could make sure that they got immediate attention if they fell, or to remind them to take their medicine, not just as a little beep, take your pills, but, in a caring tone, remind you it's time to take your pills, and go over to the cabinet and get them for them, and get them a bottle of water and make sure that they're not choking, that they swallow it properly. And again, like iRobot, somebody can hack something and things could go very bad. I mean, we are going to have to contend with that. Elon Musk himself, who's at the forefront of artificial intelligence, has said, we're going to have to be very careful. But he acknowledged, too, that the genie is out of the bottle. You'll own Hollywood is how I call an article of how with AI would democratize filmmaking. Yeah, I think democratize is a good word in this sense. We've been saying democratization of film for a long time, but I think this is the most sincere form. Like I said, somebody, it's like a YouTube or TikTok or something like that. Somebody can become a celebrity on YouTube or TikTok, in a sense, where before you would have had to go through an audition process and go, oh, can you bring that one back up? I was about to read that one too. It was never possible before. You had to go to an audition and get approved by a Hollywood exec and go through Harvey Weinstein, or, God knows what other awful person. Not that they're all awful, but that I lived in Hollywood. There are a lot of them. Shnosky. So humans can abandon the elderly even more than they already do. Yeah, I mean, I'm being practical here. I think a lot of the reason why the elderly do get neglected is because the human resources to give them their care they need kind of makes a lot of people want to sweep it under the rug, not think about it. It's easier not to think about your senile grandmother than kind of confront the fact that you don't have the time, energy, or resources to provide for them in the way that they deserve. I think people might actually be more willing to visit the elderly if they knew that they were more well taken care of. At the same time, there was just a case here in where I live where a guy is suspected of killing his 75-year-old wife. I don't know the motives behind that. It seems like he was very callous about the whole thing. So I do, of course, worry about a future where somebody, is like, hey, I want to off somebody. How do I do that? I can hack their robot and have their robot do it for me while they sleep. There's that sort of danger. And maybe the blockchain can provide some security against that, or maybe there's a way that we can create these robots where they act independently of a web, so that they can't just be easily accessed through a signal.
Chris, you don't have to go even that far. You're proposing machines tending to physically fragile people. You only need hardware failure, and they'll inadvertently kill people.
Yeah, I wonder if that problem can be solved just in the terms of making them lightweight. Robots don't have to be stronger than humans. That's kind of one of the Hollywood tropes, is that the
yeah, but you only need the pressure of 2 fingers applied to the jugular, and that's it.
I can see
you don't have to be super strong.
Anyway,
a sensor fails, someone dies.
Yeah, no, it's true. No. I mean, we're already seeing that implants, not artificial limbs, but things like defibrillators and that sort of thing can be hacked and cause to malfunction. So if you've got a heart problem, someone hacks your defibrillator, you're done. There's an anime about AI elder care bot that goes out of control. Rojin Z. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I think if you want to really figure out what's going to happen next, just go to the science fiction writers. I think they pretty much, they were the ones thinking about this decades ago, more than half a century ago. Isaac Asimov, I think, really kind of went in there to try and solve some of those problems with his 3 laws of robotics. But anyway, we're going into territory that's very speculative, but in some degree or another, it is going to happen. Self-driving cars are a perfect assassination weapon. We want the driver killed, make it crash. Want someone without 1 kill, just have it go out of control and hit the guy you want dead. Yeah, that's already happening. There was a case where somebody put a virus on a CD and put it into their CD player in the car. And I guess the CD player was wired into the car's computer enough where they could make it veer off the road. So yeah, we're definitely going to have to be careful. I think in terms of entertainment, it's the safest area to play around with. I think it's kind of funny that when people talked about AI, at first they thought arts and entertainment would be the last thing that AI would infiltrate, but it's actually the first that it's really had a huge impact on. And the funny thing about Midjourney, I think it's Midjourney or maybe it's Dolly, it's one of them. These AI generated images were not a result of someone saying, I want to make an AI generated image. They were for recognition in driving situations, training self-driving cars. They just realized that the AI was taking that diffusion data. Diffusion is essentially, it adds noise to an image. It trains on the pattern of that noise, it removes the image, and then takes that noise as a way of recognizing something. So it said, recognize a bus, recognize a stop sign, recognize lanes on the road. And then an interesting thing happened is it started generating its own images, because you can't just recognize an image based off of one image. You have to figure out kind of the Plato's what is it? Realm of Forms, I think is what it's called. Version of it. So you have to, get everything that could be a dog, everything that could be a stop sign. So, that ended up having artistic implications because turns out that's similar, not exactly the same, but similar how we create art is we learn to recognize forms, identify them, and then come up with variations on them so we can recognize them again and again. Dragon Roo says, so if a robot commits a crime by its own accord, does the creator of it get charged or sued? I mean,
those are laws that would have to be defined at this juncture. It would probably fall under the negligence laws, where the robot is owned by someone, that person's responsible for what it does.
Yeah, I think it's, you're kind of getting into like, if somebody gets hit by a Honda, do you sue Honda or do you sue the driver? But if, the person got hit because the brakes failed, even though they were factory tested, then Honda becomes liable. You kind of.
Well, Paul Walker's family was suing Porsche.
Who is suing Porsche?
Paul Walker's family.
Right. Yeah. I think they were kind of casting about looking for people to blame, though. There was, they were trying to say that it was the fault.
Is that there are precedent.
There was what?
Precedent.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of legal precedent. There's a lot of right now. A lot of people are trying to argue against, we trained it solving the, yeah, those are going to be obsolete soon. I believe that we will be able to train computers. They also don't stop for civilians often because they don't recognize them. Was also a salt circle where one didn't move because it saw the salt as the end of the road. Yeah, they'll get around those eventually. That's what training data is. You hit walls with the training data, and then you give it more training data to get around them. As far as hitting people, the only cases of self-driving cars hitting people, you see them in the news, but if you watch the footage, usually it's the person stepped right out in front of the car, and there wouldn't have been time for it to stop, even for a human driver. Not saying that there isn't room for error there, but Martin, you pointed this out in another live stream. Eventually, the training data will get to a point where it will be good enough. We're just seeing the beginning of what AI is capable of. And if you go read into this stuff, you start hearing the people who are training AI talk about super intelligence, which is essentially when we have an AI that will be more intelligent than all of the human race on Earth collectively. I don't know if I would call that super intelligence. As essentially that's just having a very well-trained library in a machine. But I don't know. We are, again, I'm not trying to do the Borg thing. Resistance is futile. For me, the Borg is a representation of collectivism, and I'm actually seeing AI as an opportunity for individualism. But the potential for collectivism is there as well. It was Michael Crichton who believed that the internet was going to be a dead end for humanity because it would result in everybody thinking the same thoughts all the time. Well, if you log on any social media and you see people disagreeing with each other left and right. So I think there was a little bit of a lack of nuance, uncharacteristic of Michael Crichton in that sense. And again, I don't think humanity is ever going to lose its nuance. And I don't think creativity is going to die because of this. I think quite the opposite. I think it's going to give us new ways that we haven't thought of before of being creative. And honestly, I'm excited about it because Person of Interest series had a pretty good depiction of training AI. I haven't seen that. Yeah, so here's the thing about creativity. And AI isn't intelligence, it's a scam. No, it's not
virtual intelligence is what we have now.
It's an imitation. It's math. And you're right, it does not think. It is math. If you talk to an AI, you're not talking to anything that recognizes you or perceives you or even perceives itself. But as far as, like I said, I wanted to say about creativity, before AI came along, I know this because I pay attention. We were complaining mightily about a lack of creativity, not just in Hollywood, but everywhere. It's the same story. It's the same this. It's just CGI. It's the same plot. It's this, that. It's the same franchise, blah, blah, blah. And that was all correct. We are at the moment in a creative doldrums where the egos of a lot of people who are supposedly the top creators are out of control. They want to tell you, that their poop don't stink, and they want to gatekeep. And yet we're kind of getting the same thing over and over again. And what I've seen from AI is, however you feel about the images that it's generating, if we want to go to, Midjourney or Stable Diffusion or DALL-E, I'm seeing, and I think this is the thing that's really making a lot of artists feel threatened, I'm seeing it generate stuff I haven't seen before. Really interesting ideas. And the fact that it's doing it quickly to a level of detail that is astounding, with a lot of mess ups and errors, but so what? That's what the creative process is. It's a lot of getting things wrong and going back and trying again. It's giving us a new point of view on the collective unconscious of where we're at right now. It's showing us, it's spitting us back out. This is what I, air quotes, think of everything that you've put on the internet, based on what you've asked me. You're asking me, I'm responding, I'm showing you yourself, in a weird, mashed up, mixed up way. But everything that was created before was a mix up, a mashup of things that have come before, with a little bit of our own insight peppered in there. And that's, how we've gotten stuff because of the internet, and because we're kind of, things are becoming more and more mimetic. It's almost like we're kind of giving ourselves these creative mantras that we can't break out of. And suddenly using AI is kind of helping us to do that. And it's lighting a fire under us. It's like, hey, look at what AI is doing. Faster, high quality, and what is that going to do? That's going to light a fire under us and go, oh, maybe we better step up our own game. All we're going to get from these programs, oops, can you bring that back? All we're going to get from these programs is the poop. We feed back to us differently. Yeah, and that's fine. I think that's going to help us. That it's like brainstorming. That's what you do. You lay everything on the table and you look at it. You mix it, you match it. It's still what you brought to it, still what you brought to the table. But from there, you get something new. And what was the next comment after that? Dang self-checkouts at stores are taking our job. Now AI is just taking even more of our jobs. Yeah, there's let me look this up really quick. I'm gonna do this. Just gonna do this really quick. Where's my mouse cursor?
Well,
other
about that comment, almost every new technology has that effect. Some people adapt and get a new skill. Some others don't. I won't fault the AI to the. I won't have my pitch and fork, my torch and pitchforks, and going beside for the elimination of AI because of jobs. That is not an issue. Well, it's an issue, but it's not an unsolvable issue.
Yes. There's I just pulled it up here. I want to read this. Your boy Zach posted this the other day in terms of manga and why manga is taking over the comic book industry. The reason things are in uncertain state is due to people greenlighting things based on their tastes. They aren't creative. Yeah, that's a very good point. So this is a speech that Danny DeVito gave, his character gave in the movie Other People's Money. And like I said, I saw your boy Zach post this in relation to manga and the fact that the comic book industry is dead as well, and manga's taken it over or taken its place. So he posted this, and I was going to play the video, but I don't want to get a copyright strike, so I'm just going to read it. Imagine Danny DeVito saying this. Amen. And amen and amen. You have to forgive me. I'm not familiar with the local customs here. Where I come from, you always say amen after you hear a prayer, because that's what you just heard, a prayer. Where I come from, that particular prayer is called the prayer for the dead. You just heard the prayer for the dead, my fellow stockholders, and you didn't say amen. This company is dead. I didn't kill it. Don't blame me. It was dead when I got here. It's too late for prayers, for even if the prayers are answered and a miracle occurs, and the yen did this and the dollar did that, and the infrastructure did the other thing, we would still be dead. You know why? Fiber optics, new technologies, obsolescence. We're dead, all right. We're just not broke. And you know the surest way to go broke? Keep getting increasing shares of a shrinking market. Down the tubes. Slow but sure. You know, at one time, there must have been a dozen of companies making buggy whips. And I'll bet you the last company around was the one that made the best goddamn buggy whip you ever saw. Now, how would you like to have been a stockholder in that company? You invested in a business, and that business is dead. Let's have the intelligence. Let's have the decency to sign the death certificate, collect the insurance, and invest in something with a future. But we can't, goes the prayer. We can't because we have responsibilities and responsibility to our employees, to our community. What will happen to them? I got 2 words for you for that. Who cares? Care about them? Why? They didn't care about you. They sucked you dry. You have no responsibility to them. For the last 10 years, this company bled your money. Did this community ever say, we know times are tough. We'll lower taxes. We'll reduce water and sewer. Check it out. You're praying twice. You're paying twice what you did 10 years ago. And our devoted employees who have taken no increases for the past 3 years are still making twice what they made 10 years ago. And our stock, 1/6 what it was 10 years ago. Who cares? I'll tell you, me, I'm not your best friend. I'm your only friend. I don't make anything. I'm making you money. The least we forget that the only reason one of you became stockholders in the first place, you want to make money, you don't care if they manufacture wire and cable, fried chicken, or grown tangerines. You want to make money. I'm the only friend you've got. I'm making you money. Take the money, invest in something else. Maybe you'll get lucky and it'll be used productively. And if it is, you'll create new jobs and provide service for economy and, God forbid, even make a few bucks for yourselves. And if anybody asks, tell them you gave at the plant. And by the way, it pleases me that I'm called Larry the Liquidator. You know why, fellow stockholders? Because at my funeral, you'll leave with a smile on your face and a few bucks in your pocket. Now that's a funeral worth having. So I thought that was brilliant. And not everyone's going to like hearing that sort of thing. And again, you know, I think some people see this as the end of creativity or, you know, a disaster for humanity, or as Guillermo del Toro said, it's an insult to humanity. Yes, terrible. It's an insult. Yes, everyone's offended. Again, it's whether we like it or not, no matter how we feel about it, it's happening. And we're either going to get steamrolled by it, or maybe we can figure out how to maybe use it to our advantage and maybe get a little bit of a say in the process of what happens after that. So, that's it happened to the comic book industry with manga, and it's happening to Hollywood now with technology and with the independent movement. And we may not see all of it, and we don't know how it's all going to play out. There definitely are going to be some Hail Marys and you know, like I said, Spider-Man No Way Home, Hail Mary. Avatar, sort of Hail Mary. You know, Wednesday Addams. I think Stranger Things and Wednesday Addams are more leaning of where it's going to be at. But yeah, I think that's a good place to wrap it up in that sense. New tech takes away old jobs, but create new ones also. Precisely. We're always going to find something to do if we want to. Or if we want to lay down and feel sorry for ourselves, or lament for the way things were, you know, we can do that too. And there are museums, and there are, you know, you can still find buggy whips if you really want them. You can still ride a horse and carriage if you really want to. The Amish exist because of their desire to live in a certain way. But even they have to go get jobs at the store and use the credit card machine. So, you know, certain things, yeah, resistance is futile, but it doesn't mean that you have to give up your individuality. And that's all I'm going to say about that. This show needed more jokes. Can I get an AI to write us some jokes?
Probably, but they aren't going to be funny. They'll be dad jokes.
Dad jokes?
Dad jokes are best joke.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Tell me an AI joke. See what it says. Sure. Here's an AI joke for you. Why was the robot feeling depressed? Because his circuits were down. I hope you found that joke amusing. Do you have any other questions I can help you with?
Oh,
the last line was the best part.
Yep.
All right. Oh, I found okay. I'm okay. All right, then. I want to thank everyone.
Oh my God! See, AI has taken down Chris. AI has broken Chris.
See, now that's why I don't use Alexa, I don't use Siri, I don't even use Bixby on the phone. I disable all that. Of course, that's not because it's AI, but that's just because it's basically spyware.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
that last line just got me. Yeah, you're right. And there's so much more to. I don't have an Alexa for the same reason, but all right, let's wrap it up before I die. All right, let's see. We got in the chat. Oh, and welcome Peter Vakeman fan site. It's not like people are doing those jobs Pedro is. Well, maybe Pedro can have a better life now. That's what I hope. It's a better life for everyone. All right, so thank you, Penny, D. Bud Martin, Anima Confucia, Sean Estep, Dragon Ruse, Real World Nation, Krampus Jesus, Jeebus.
Oh my God.
Thank you. Come again. I can't do it.
That was a disturbing image.
Keely Chow, Bill Barclay, Crusader Lion, Cesar Romero, Midnight's Edge After Dark. Always glad when you drop by. I love Midnight's Edge. I really do. Shanowski, Scribe Light, Zax, Brandon the Anime Guy, War Monkey, Lindsay the Cynical Geek, Snortapupus Cuber, Decepticon Cave of Toys, Vinzinger, aka El Ataku, aka The Weeb Pillar, and again, Peter Vakeman fan site, and Das Wolfen Martin. Thank you very much for being my co-host, and happy birthday again, Martin, and happy New Year to everybody.
Thank you.
All right, that's it. Do we have an AI chatbot suggestion for an outro? No? Okay, good. Martin, do your thing.
Hey guys, thanks for watching Pop Culture Mindfield. If you've enjoyed the show, please make sure to like, subscribe, and don't forget to click the bell icon for updates on our shows and channel. Also, please leave a comment, and we'd like to know what you thought of the episode, as well as letting us know if there's something you'd like us to cover in a future episode. Don't forget that you can become a member of Pop Culture Minefield now. Make sure to visit our membership page and merch store at popcultureminefield.com. You can always find Pop Culture Minefield on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch.